All right, this breaking news, the January 6th committee says it has critical first-hand testimony about former President Trump's words and actions during the siege on the Capitol nearly 1 year ago. Just listen to committee Vice Chair Liz Cheney.
The committee has first-hand testimony now that he was sitting in the dining room next to the Oval Office watching the attack on television. We have first-hand testimony that his daughter Ivanka went in at least twice to ask him to please stop this violence. At the same time the violent assault was happening, he's watching television. He's also calling at least one senator urging delay of the electoral vote.
All right, let's go to straight to Melanie Zanona on Capitol Hill now. So, Melanie, divulge a little bit more here. I mean, at the very least, this is suggesting that someone very close to the former president is engaging with the committee.
Right, you're absolutely right. This is consequential, Fred. I mean, up until this point, the committee has run into some pretty high-profile roadblocks, with Steve Bannon and Mark Meadows refusing to cooperate, Trump suing in court to prevent the committee from getting access to a number of documents. But they've also conducted hundreds of private depositions. They've collected thousands of documents and records. And it is clear, based on what Liz Cheney revealed this morning, that someone close to Trump is talking and revealing some pretty specific information about his actions that day. It's also clear that the committee is starting to zero in on those 187 minutes that Trump was publicly silent while his supporters breached the building. We're starting to learn a lot more about what he did and did not do during that period of time. Take a listen to what Benny Thompson, the chairman of the committee, told our Dana Bash this morning.
We have significant testimony that leads us to believe that the White House had been told to do something. We want to verify all of it so that when we produce our report and when we have the hearings, the public will have an opportunity to see for themselves.
The big question, of course, is whether that inaction is criminal in any way. Benny Thompson said that is still something they are working to determine. But if they find that a criminal act was committed, Benny Thompson said they have no problem making a criminal referral to the Department of Justice.
And Melanie, I mean, this committee says it's gearing up for public hearings relatively soon. What do we know about the plans in the coming weeks or perhaps months?
Yeah, so the committee has been conducting a lot of its work behind closed doors, but they plan to take this into a much more public phase. There's going to be an interim report in the fall, or in the summer, excuse me, with a final report in the fall. And they also are planning to conduct public hearings. We could hear from state and local election officials, DOJ officials who tried to overturn the election or were pressured to do so, the National Guard troops. I think another big question is whether any Republican lawmakers who were in contact with Trump will come and testify. If they don't come voluntarily, though, Benny Thompson said subpoenas are certainly on the table, Fred.
All right, Melanie Zanona, thank you so much from Capitol Hill. Appreciate that. Let's talk more about all this. With me now, former federal prosecutor Michael Zeldin. Michael, good to see you. So, I mean, it's quite extraordinary to hear the words of Liz Cheney. I mean, she said that even Ivanka, the former president's daughter, would say, stop the violence, which certainly then implies that the former president had the power to end this. So that whole issue of inaction, that the daughter said he actually did have the power to stop what was happening. What does this mean for the former president's possible legal culpability here?
Well, so in the days of the hours of the event, we hear that Ivanka and Mark Meadows and Lindsey Graham and Kevin McCarthy were all pleading with the president to call this thing off. Now, whether his inaction rises to the level of criminal action really depends on his knowledge and intent. So, for example, if he knew that the rioters were going to storm the Capitol in advance through the war room at the Willard Hotel, and he said, look, you guys go storm it, I'm going to sit back and do nothing, meaning I'm not going to call the National Guard. I'm not going to call the local police. I'm going to let you have, free reign. That inaction really is action and could rise to the level of criminal culpability.
Yeah, I mean, it would seem like, of course, that would be the case. He's the president of the United States. I mean, he is sworn to protect this nation. And to watch something unfold of this magnitude would seem even more than just a dereliction of duty.
That's right. He has a duty to faithfully execute the laws and take care that the laws are faithfully executed. And if he had any forewarning that this was going to occur, and it seems pretty clear that it was forewarning central in the White House that day, and he did nothing about it, then I don't think it really is as passive as people have been arguing it has, to be. I think it's really action by failing to act.
Are you at all concerned about the timeline? That here we are just days away from that marker, that anniversary date of January 6th, and this kind of information is coming forward. That Congresswoman Liz Cheney would say that they have information from someone very close to Donald Trump.
Well, I think it's actually a very positive sign. They're a year into this investigation. They have subpoenaed hundreds of people. They have interviewed hundreds more. They have 35,000 pages of documents. If they are now finally getting the inner circle of Trump's advisors who were there in the White House on January 6th or know of the events of January 6th, that's a major development. And it's not really very far into this investigation to get this sort of cooperating witness type of testimony. So I think it's actually a positive development for the committee.
Do you see, Melanie said that, possibly these public hearings, this summer, do you feel like it needs to take place sooner than that?
No, I think that they're going to release reports, staggered reports based on the various work streams that they're working on. And then I expect that they want to have Watergate-like hearings where the country is riveted on all of the testimony that these people come forward with, and that you want to do when you're really ready to do it. And the summer seems like about the right time for that, given the timeline of lack of cooperation by many of these people whose cooperation they really need.
Do you see that this kind of information will in any way inspire those who have not been cooperative, those who are in contempt, to change their minds?
If the Supreme Court refuses to take this case of Trump's assertion of executive privilege, then all of those people who are asserting that they can't testify because of Trump have to come in and testify. That would be the most, important win for the committee, to have the Supreme Court deny the case and have the cooperators now cooperate, the non-cooperators now cooperate.
All right, Michael Zeldin, thank you so much. Good to see you, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Fred. Thank you.